Hey everyone, in today's video I'm going to be making a list of 12 horror books that I want to read in the next year. This idea came from the fact that earlier this month a lot of people were making videos about the top horror books on Goodreads for the last 10 years, and I was interested to see what people's thoughts were about it, what books they would put on there versus others. So I, after watching those videos, have created a list of horror books that I have not read, but in the next year I would like to read all 12 of these books. The order that these books are written in are from publication year, from most recent to 10 years ago. So without further ado, I'm going to talk about each of these books and tell you why I'm interested in reading each of these books. For reference, I am going to be using my phone and Storygraph to give me the summaries for these books, also reminding me what each of these books are about. So to start off, the first book on my list is Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Gary Hendrix. This book has been recommended so much by so many people. I think within the last year, majority of people have read this book. I read this year my first Hendrix book, which was Horrorstor, and I did not like it. I gave it a 3-star. My overall review of that book is it was kind of boring. Nothing really to see here type of deal. I think the gimmick of the book is really fun, but I wasn't enthralled by the story. So for the summary of this book, it's a bit long. They call them wayward girls, loose girls, girls who grew up too fast, and they're sent to the Wayward house in St. Augustine, Florida, where unwed mothers are hidden by their families to have their babies in secret, give them up for adoption, and most important of all, to forget any of it ever happened. I'm just going to read that much because I also know that this deals with, obviously witchcraft. It's in the title. I know already some of the not scary parts, but I believe there is a birth scene that's kind of a lot. I don't love those scenes, but I'm here to read another Hendrix book and hopefully I'll like it more, that it's more up my alley. Let's also do a rating. Let's guess what I'm going to rate this book. I think it's going to be a 4. Because of Horrorstor, I'm not sure if it's the writing or if it was just that story that I didn't like, but I'm hoping this one is better, but I don't think it's going to be a 5-star. My second book is The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. This man has written so many books, and so many of them are recommended on this Goodreads list that I had to choose one, and this is his most recent one. Maybe it's not even recent at this point, but it was the most recommended by other people when I was watching their videos that they liked this one. Little bit of reading for the summary. A chilling historical horror novel set in the American West in 1912 following a Lutheran priest who transcribes the life of a vampire who haunts the fields of the Blackfeet Reservation looking for justice. I love vampire stories. I love vampires. I really want to see what the perspective is of vampires through Jones's writing, and I'm excited to read this. I'm hopeful that this book's rating will be a 4.5. I do really like historical horror. I've rated those books so far the highest. Let's hope this one works out too. The third book is My Darling Dreadful Thing by Johanna van Veen. This book I saw on the list. Not many people had read it. What drew me to it was the gothic element. Let me read a little bit of a paragraph. Spirits are drawn to salt, be it blood or tears. Ruth Beckham has a spirit companion only she can see. Ruth, strange, corpse-like, and dead for centuries, is the light of Ruth's life. That is, until the wealthy young widow Agnes I hope that's a noob, visits one of Roos's backroom seances and the two strike up a connection. And then it says someone is murdered. This is something that is out of my wheelhouse for horror at this point. I do not know if I will like a murder happening in the center and then trying to figure out it's a sleuth story, but we'll see. I'm down to try it out. I don't want to rank this higher than a 3-star for me because I just don't know if I'll like it in the end, but I'm excited to see what happens. For book number 4, it is going to be We Used to Live Here by Marcus Kliewer. I don't know how to pronounce the last name, so I do apologize. But this is also another book that has been heavily talked about since I've come back and started watching BookTube and specifically horror recommendation videos. I believe this is about a haunted house or something to do with houses. So let's read the summary, shall we? As a young queer couple who flips houses, Charlie and Eve can't believe the killer deal they've just gotten on an old house in a picturesque neighborhood. As they're working in the house one day, there's a knock on the door. A man stands there with his family, claiming to have lived there years before and asking if it would be alright if he showed his kids around. People pleaser to a fault, Eve lets him in. As soon as the strangers enter their home, uncanny and inexplicable things start to happen. And I'm gonna pause there. My guess is it's like a haunting house or I don't know, haunting houses is the only thing I can think of. Ghost, paranormal things. Who knows? maybe a demon or two if we're feeling lucky. I've never read anything about haunted houses. I don't do well with ghost stories sometimes, but I did just When the Reckoning Comes, and that book was fantastic. That is about hauntings and ghosts, so maybe I will enjoy this. Because of When the Reckoning Comes, maybe this book will be a 4, maybe a 4.5. We'll see. Lots of people like it. That makes me more hopeful that I will like it too. If I've moved a little bit, it's because my battery died, but now we're good. The 5th book is Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay. This book, I am actually very excited because it reminds me of a video game that I really loved, which is a movie that was never a horror movie, that was never released, that was created by very well-known people now in Hollywood. There's this like unspeakable movie that they made when they were younger, and in the video game you're putting the pieces together as to why it was never shown, and in the end there's various different outcomes in that game, but it was so gripping and so well done that this book I'm kind of excited and hoping that it's the same. From the summary, at least a small part of the summary, it reads, in June 1993, a group of young guerrilla filmmakers spent 4 weeks making Horror Movie, a notorious disturbing art house horror flick. The weird part, only 3 of the film's scenes were ever released to the public, but Horror Movie has nevertheless grown a rabid fan base. 3 decades later, Hollywood is pushing for a big budget reboot. So maybe it's kind of similar. So yeah, I'm excited. I am more optimistic about this one, so I'm kind of hoping it's a 4.5 to a 5. But I've also never read anything by Paul Tremblay, so I don't know if I like his writing style or storytelling. So we'll see. Okay, the 6th book on the list is Monstrilio by Geraro Samano Cordova. And this one has been recommended incessantly by tons of people. This is not just a horror book that is a certain niche. A lot of people have read this story and have highly recommended it. So a little synopsis. Grieving Mother Magos cuts out a piece of her deceased 11-year-old son, Santiago's lung. Acting on fierce maternal instinct and the dubious logic of an old folktale, she nurtures the lung until it gains sentience. Growing into the carnivorous little Monstrilio, she keeps hidden within the walls of her family's decaying Mexico City estate. Oh. See, this is why I don't read summaries heavily for horror books or like any books. I want to be surprised, but like, okay, I guess that's how we're starting. Okay. I've never read a book like this before, so I'm going to say 3 for now, hoping it goes higher than a 3. We'll see. I don't know. The 7th book is Knock Knock Open Wide by Neil Sharpson, and for this book, the description reads, driving home late one night, Ethan Larkin, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, finds a corpse on a pitch-black country road deep in the Irish countryside. She takes the corpse to a remote farmhouse, so begins a night of unspeakable horror that will take her to the very brink of sanity, and she will never speak of it again. This one was shown as like a folklore horror, and I really like folklore horror when it comes to video games, so I'm excited to read this. I'm hoping this is a 4 stars or above read for me. The 8th book on my list is Slewfoot by BROM. This one recently has been picking up again. I have seen so many people, whether it's on TikTok or YouTube, that have been reading this book, and everyone has been loving it. I am so excited to read it that I've already have it physically bought. So at some point, maybe by the end of the year, I will read this book. But this is another folklore horror, and as far as I'm aware, it is about our main character gaining power, I think, by making an agreement with Slewfoot to make herself powerful, but I don't know the reason why and what caused it or anything like that. I also love that BROM is also an illustrator, and so there's like these beautiful, stunning works in the center of the books showcasing, I believe, the characters that you meet throughout the books. So I'm excited. Because it's a folk horror tale, I think it's going to be 4 stars or above, maybe 4.5 or above, because again, it is some of my favorite type of storytelling in horror. Book number 9 on my list is Tender is the Flesh by Agustina Bazterrica, with Sarah Moses as the translator. This one I've also known because many people have talked about this. This is about cannibalism, and that's really all I want to know about the story. I don't want to know deeper than that before getting into it. Because of that, I'm going to put it at a 3 for now, maybe 3.5. And I hope it goes higher than that. I'm interested to see what my reaction will be to the book once I've read it. The 10th book on my list is Moon of the Crusted Snow by Waubgeshig Rice. I'm unsure if I pronounced the first name correctly. The summary reads, with winter looming, a small northern Anishinaabe community goes dark. Cut off people become passive and confused. Panic builds as the food supply dwindles. While the band, council, and a pocket of community members struggle to maintain order, an unexpected visitor arrives, escaping the crumbling society to the south. Soon after, others follow. It's a daring post-apocalyptic thriller from a powerful rising literary voice. So it's technically a thriller, not horror, but it was on this list and it intrigued me because I wanted to read more native works. So I'm very intrigued to see what happens, and it sounds like doom and gloom, as most thrillers are. My thriller ratio right now is kind of a back and forth. Either I find it really interesting or sometimes I just don't click with the story at all. So I'm going to put my rating at a 3. We'll keep it at a 3 and see where it goes. Book number 11 is Follow Me to Ground by Sue Rainsford. Now, this one is marked on Storygraph as not a horror or a thriller, but it was recommended in someone's video and I was intrigued by the summary. So this is magical realism. The first paragraph reads, Ada and her father, touched by the power to heal illness, live on the edge of a village where they help sick locals, or cures, quote unquote, by cracking open their damaged bodies or temporarily burying them in the reviving, dangerous ground nearby. Ada, a being both more and less than human, is mostly uninterested in the cures until she meets a man named Samson. When they strike up an affair to the displeasure of her father and Samson's widowed, pregnant sister, Ada is torn between her old way of life and new possibilities with her lover, and eventually comes to a decision that will forever change Samson, the town, and the ground itself. It's an interesting way to heal people, definitely, so I can see why this might be a horrific element, or there's like horrific things happening, but it's not labeled as such, so we will see if that is true. Let's see where I'm going to put this. Because it's not technically horror, I'm going to set this at a 3. I do fear that it might not be up to what I like when it comes to fantasy stuff, but because I've read The Year of the Witching, if it's similar to The Year of the Witching, then I might surprise myself and give it a 4. But I'm going to put it at a solid 3 for right now, just in case, just to be safe. The last book on this list at number 12 is The Silent Companions by Purcell. This one I have seen more recently people picking up this book, and what I liked about it, it has a gothic feel and a really eerie creepiness with the silent companions all of a sudden coming from the house. And again, I don't want more information. That's enough for me to be like, I would like to read you, please. From here, a Victorian ghost story that evokes a most unsettling kind of fear, The Silent Companions is a tale that creeps its way through the consciousness in ways you least expect, much like the companions themselves. So that sounds great. And it's Victorian, not Gothic. My bad. Still, it's got that vibe of being creepy and historical and dusty. I don't know if that makes any sense, but the dust needs to be there, you know, to make it eerie. I think I'm going to rate the book at 4 stars, Silent Companions. I do kind of hope it's going to be a 5-star, but I don't want to push it. So I'm going to leave it at a 4-star guess. Okay, so that is my list. In a year, I'm going to review this video and I'm going to see if I've read all 12 books by then or if I've read any more in the horror genre, because I'm piling up. I'm getting more and more horror books that I'm interested in and want to read to see if I like them, and then I can obviously review them and let you guys know. Let me know if you guys have any recommendations that are similar to the books I just listed, or if you want to tell me some warnings or some excitement for the books on my list. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!